Hi, my name is Lesedi Chery, and this is my testimony. I was born and grew up in a town in Botswana called Francistown. A third born of 4 children, my family was a church-going family. Every Sunday, my parents would take us to church, and weekly we would have Bible studies. So I grew up around the Word of God and knowing about God, something of which I'm very grateful for. However, knowing about God didn't necessarily mean I knew God. I didn't have an experience of it, so I really didn't know who God was about or what He was about. Fast forward to my teenage years, I grew more and more cold and found rebellion creeping into my heart. I found myself engaging in bad relationships, getting angry, looking and searching for something real in my life. Finally, my family moved from Francistown to Gaborone, Botswana, the capital city. This meant I was going into university, and it meant more opportunities to be rebellious. With this happening in my life, I came across bad relationships, met bad people that led me into bad things. Bad networks, alcohol, violence, partying. I found myself in all these spaces. Bad sexual relationships, bad love relationships. I was really just drowning, looking for my way out. So one day, September of 2011, during Botswana's independence, one fateful night, I found myself at a party where everybody was engaging in drinking of alcohol, drugs, and all sorts of things. I decided to take what they called weed cake and ingested some of it. Little did I know that this would get me extremely intoxicated. I found myself hallucinating, seeing things, hearing things. Instead of going home, I decided to continue with the night. We went to another party downtown where we met more people engaging in even more alcohol and more of the drugs. So I found myself talking to a number of people. There's this one point where I went into the kitchen. I met a few people that I knew. One guy came to me and he said to me, "What's your name? I will destroy you." So it didn't seem like much. Mind you, at this time, I had also engaged in serious physical training to try and gain power, to try and feel strong, to try and feel in control. So I was quite fit at the time and very strong. And I really used this to play rugby, to push people around, and to be violent when I needed to. So this guy saying this to me came as a surprise. But I continued about the night. I met another girl that I used to go to high school with, who then asked me if I had a girlfriend. So I told her no. I asked if she had a boyfriend. She said yes. But that didn't stop her from pulling me into the room, which was the living room, and tried to, be intimate. So I pushed her back and I said, "Didn't you just say that you have a boyfriend? So what's going on?" Instead of being embarrassed, this girl leaned into my ear and started speaking in a foreign language, hissing like a snake in a Jamaican accent. So in my mind, I thought I was hallucinating. In my mind, I thought, I'm just hearing things. It's probably because of the marijuana kick. So I looked at her and I asked her, "Did you just hear what you just said?" She looked at me, she smiled, and then she just walked away. My explanation to this was that I was intoxicated. So I moved on. I went into another room. I stood by the entrance where there was another guy right opposite me. I looked at him. I looked at everybody just walking into this room. They looked lifeless. They looked dead. They looked like dead man walking. And I looked at the guy and I asked him, "Is this a cult?" So as he said that, as I said that, he looked at me and he smiled and he laughed and he went about his night. So that came about as a surprise to me, because I was wondering, shouldn't you be at least shocked or tell me that, I'm saying stuff that's not real? That reaction to me meant more than just not caring. So I continued on. I went into that room where it was dark, there was music playing, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. But lo and behold, this girl that I was previously talking to walked into the room. She asked me to dance, but after the encounter that I had, I decided not to. I decided to sit down and just watch. So as I was watching, something happened. It's like the atmosphere changed. It's like all of a sudden I felt depressed. I felt very sad. I felt like I had no life anymore. I felt like there was no reason to live. Suicidal thoughts just started running through my head. It was like somebody just walked into the room and just sucked the life out of the room. I immediately stood up and ran out back into the kitchen. This gentleman that initially spoke to me in the beginning came to me and he said, "Will you have coffee? I'm making you coffee." And I enjoy coffee, but at the time I just really felt not to do it. So I told him no thanks, where surprisingly he got very angry at me and insisted that I have the coffee. But then again I said no. And then immediately my eyes were drawn to his neck piece, which looked like a pendant, and he had actually taken his jacket off and he looked like a priest. And as I refused and I declined, I walked out. I stood by the doorway where the guy looked at me. He stared into my eyes and he said, "You know you're in, right?" As soon as he said that, I felt chills going down my spine. I immediately froze and everything started to make sense. All the relationships that I've had, the network that I was a part of, it was all a plan. I was being initiated, and the final step was to drink that which seemed like coffee. So in that moment, the word of God came to me. That was the first time I heard God speak. And he said, "I will never leave you, nor forsake you." Instantly a peace came upon me. But on the inside I was very, very, very afraid. Things started piecing together in my mind. Why that happened, why that happened, why that girl came to my room that time. Things just started to make sense, that this was a plan. I immediately declined and I walked out. To my surprise, when I came into the room, when I came into the yard, My phone at the time had gone off because the battery was pretty much gone. So I went back into my car, and some of the ladies or some of the girls from the party came. They insisted that I stay. They said the night is young, but I insisted that I leave. After hearing what I heard, seeing what I saw, I really knew it was time for me to go.